suggest that you take some time to kind of scan and assess, like, during the weeks, or, take a look at a couple weeks at a time, and how are you functioning through the day and through the week? While you are getting like 4 to 5 hours of sleep, but do you feel like you're at your best optimal self? While you're at work, are you able to fully concentrate and have like really great conversations? And which some people are, but when you start to notice that maybe like the slightest thing is starting to irritate you, or there's some signs of some anxiety with things that you didn't have before, sometimes it could be related back to your sleep and not getting the full amount that your body really needs.
That's key. And I said that on purpose because anxiety is the new, I'll say, girl in town, because, everyone has issues with anxiety. But if you dial it back, not self-diagnose, but you can add to your value by doing things, I feel, that will kind of help you. Welcome back to Hidden Parts, the podcast. I'm your host, Sean Monet, and today's topic is very special. It affects all of us. It's sleep. Yes, sleep. Did you know that 1/3 of our lives is really supposed to be dedicated to sleep? Yeah, I know. I suck at it big time. And most of us do, because in some way or another, we have this to do, that to do, only to make sleep an afterthought, and we get what we get. Joining us today, we have Tracey Mack-Taylor, a psychotherapist specializing in cognitive behavioral health. She's going to help us debunk all of the thought processes that we have around sleep. Welcome, Tracey.
Hi, good afternoon. So, yes, I am a psychotherapist. I'm here licensed in Catonsville, Maryland. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor, board-approved supervisor. And what that means is that I'm able to supervise licensed graduate clinicians that are working towards their hours.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So what made you choose that line of work?
So my mom is in the healthcare profession. She was a nurse, and one of the nurses was sharing with me about some of the things that they noticed and witnessed, on their floor. And I had the opportunity to do a meet and greet with a university, and I begun to fall in love with the mental health field. Originally, I was planning to go to law school, but I pivoted.
Wow, that's a big pivot.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. So actually 2 weeks ago, it's been 5 years that I've owned my practice, Reflections Counseling and Consulting, here in Catonsville, Maryland.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Was the work hard to get here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So after undergrad, I went to grad school approximately 3.5 years, and then you have to get 3,000 hours in the state of Maryland before you can become fully licensed, and then work another 2 years before you can become a supervisor, if that's what you desire.
Wow. So you see patients in your practice?
Yes. So I primarily work with clients who are navigating struggles with traumatic issues or traumatic experiences. So I work with teens, 16 and older. Primarily I work with women who have navigated some traumatic experiences. I also work with the forensic population, particularly at this time, immigrant communities. So those individuals who are needing a mental health evaluation to petition the government to stay in the country.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to dial it back just a minute, because oftentimes people hear traumatic and in the back of their brain they're thinking bloody or something like that. So can you drill down on traumatic and what things fall in that category?
Yeah. So a trauma is an incident that has a disruption to someone's livelihood. So some traumatic experiences could be environmental. So the things that we may experience that for some people may be normal considering where they lived, but to navigate society, it would not be a normal circumstance, such as crime and poverty, particularly. Other traumatic experiences, unfortunately, could be the death of someone, murder, suicide, rape. All of these are some pretty severe, circumstances, and those are traumatic experiences as well.
So what about divorce? That
Divorce
could be traumatic to some people.
It can be,
Okay.
absolutely.
And you would help a person?
Yes, I actually have, worked with some clients who have, begun the process of navigating if they want to separate and or, ultimately divorce.
The other thing that was traumatizing for me that I think would probably fit under your umbrella is all of a sudden being thrust into caretaking of your parents when, the roles were reversed.
Absolutely. I as well fell into that category. And I think many of us will likely, be in that category as our parents are aging. And so that could be quite a culture shock of, living your life and doing your day to day, and especially if you have kids, so taking care of your kids, and now you also have to be caregiving for an elderly parent.
Yeah, it's serious, but in order to maintain my sanity, anybody that knows me, I have to laugh. And it's traumatizing when you have to think of bathing your parents and stuff like that, and it's a big deal.
Absolutely.
So, awesome. So, we're here today to talk about sleep.
Yes.
Now, I know typically as a psychotherapist, that may not be something that you're hyper focused on, but it relates.
Absolutely.
How?
So it relates because primarily a lot of the mental health disorders in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which we utilize to identify the mental health disorder for a person, assesses for sleep. So when clients, or let's say, when people are navigating day to day, if they are struggling with things, a general practitioner, a therapist, psychiatrist, etc., would inquire about what are your sleep habits like? Because most often, if a person is not getting sufficient amount of sleep, it is impacting their day to day.
Wow. So I'm one to boast, and it's really nothing to boast about, but I'm just like, all I need is 5 hours of sleep and I'm good. Or, I'm a night owl. I get to sleep when I get to sleep, or, whatever, but that's a bad behavior.
Yes, it is. I'm guilty of that as well. I think many of us are, and unfortunately, I think the way in which we kind of navigate society, it kind of sets us up to be that way, but it's not as healthy to sustain over time. The average adult should be getting approximately 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And so like I tell my clients, at times, just like your devices, they need to have idle time, a significant amount of time to recharge. So does your body and your brain.
Oh, that's a great analogy. That's a great analogy, except some people leave their phone on for forever. They never given an opportunity to power down. So,
and sometimes those phones don't function the way they need to.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And that's what happens to our bodies and our brain over time.
Yeah, that coupled with age.
Yes.
Just because I was good, with 5 hours of sleep in my 20s, now it's different.
Absolutely. So not only just, age, but your diet and your exercise, all of that, plays a factor into your overall, well-being and health. And so if we're not getting the adequate amount of sleep, also, taking care of ourselves with the adequate diet, it can impact us. There's increased irritability, poor quality sleep, could cause one to have cognitive delays, to mean like, they have difficulty concentrating throughout the day. And so if one is navigating these issues, I would strongly, suggest like take an assessment of like how much sleep are you getting, as well as what is your diet intake like, and are you drinking sufficient amount of water, staying hydrated.
Oh, there she goes. I'm gonna take a sip now.
Yes.
That's my issue. But all right. So we kind of covered the basics of sleep and why it's essential. But can we talk about sleep and its role in your mental health?
Yes. So with sleep and the role in mental health, there's still a lot of research that needs to be done.
Okay.
And that is because while clients can be able to say that they are not getting enough sleep, it is very tricky to identify the reason why they're not getting enough sleep. And so sometimes our lifestyle could be able to pinpoint that, but the actual narrowing down, like when I get in the bed, like what has caused me not to go to sleep, that brings challenges. And so over time, what we tend to see is that many clients may have issues with anxiety and depression. And there's correlation with sleep within that. Does not necessarily mean that, if you had 8 hours of sleep that you're not going to exhibit those symptoms. It's just a correlation that we see combined together.
Okay, and the stages of sleep, they play a very important role in whatever quantity it is. Do you want to talk about that?
So when you say the stages of sleep, what do you mean?
I know like when you first go to sleep, there's a level and it progresses to another, like deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep, things of that nature.
Yes. And so with those different stages, from my vantage point, when clients aren't, let me say this. So when clients do not have good quality sleep, they're one that is waking up significant throughout the day, or let me say throughout the evening. So one that may be getting up multiple times or having difficulty going to sleep once they get into bed. So if they haven't fallen asleep within 30 minutes, there's issues there. When we talk about REM sleep, it's the rapid eye movement. And so what happens when we fall to sleep, we go in a deep subconscious state. And that allows our bodies really to kind of fully recharge. And that sleep tends to be about 3 to 4 hours-ish. It depends. And then we have the REM sleep where your brain is, it's still working in the background and it's doing what it needs to do. So you have these eye movement patterns, et cetera, that's happening. And so what tends to happen if a person is constantly waking up, they're not getting to those specific levels.
Okay. Yeah, because it's hard. We multitask, unfortunately, and just because you're in the bed doesn't mean your brain shuts off. So you may go to sleep. Speaking from experience, I'll wake up because my brain won't shut down. It's just going and going, and I'm thinking about the next day, or I might even be thinking about what happened to me during that particular day. But it's a struggle.
It is.
It's a struggle. So I wouldn't say because I have that, I need to run and talk to my therapist about it, but I think continued issues with that.
Absolutely. I would say, if you see that the sleep issues are, or they have worsened, then you definitely want to speak with either your primary care doctor, a therapist, et cetera, to discuss the concerns that you're having. Because again, it's multifaceted. So there could be several factors that are combining or compounding your issues with sleep. So like you just mentioned, if you're in the bed and you have these ruminating thoughts about the day, what you're going to do the next day, et cetera, your brain is not allowing itself to kind of slow
power down,
right? So that you could be able to sleep. And so in scenarios like that, I have clients begin to assess, what is your sleep routine like? What is it? What are the things that you are doing prior to getting in the bed and going to sleep? So being able to figure that out so that way, if there are changes that are needed, we can begin to implement them.
Okay. So what things in your experience would people say?
So many people are like, eating, having a heavy meal, a glass of wine, a few drinks, watching television or being on the phone. All of these factors play a heavy role in our ability to sleep. And so when we think about eating and having drinks, it's suggested that you not consume anything for at least 2 to 3 hours prior to you going to bed. And so that gives your body the ability to kind of break down, the food and the liquids, et cetera, appropriately. So that way you can have comfortable sleep. Additionally, with watching TV or being on devices, et cetera, your brain is still working, while you're looking at TV, looking at your phone, et cetera. So again, with that, I would encourage at least 1 hour before to, kind of turn off the devices or put your phone to the wayside so that way you could try to get comfortable sleep.
Some people say they use the phone until they are able to fall asleep.
Yes.
But there's some science behind that blue light and how it affects things.
Yes, I'm not that well versed on the blue light, but I do know what you are referring to. But I do feel that often with light, and that's another thing when thinking about assessing your routine, because light does also play a factor into one's ability to sleep. So one, I would, ask clients, what does your room setup, what is it like? Do you tend to sit in the bed with all your lights on? Do you have a night light or do you have a lamp beside your bed? So having the soft white light bulbs will help a client be able to sleep better and likely longer throughout the night.
If you can't cut the lights out completely.
Right,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when I was much younger, I could sleep with the TV on all night. But I get so irritated if I fall asleep and the TV is on, because then I'm having all kinds of crazy dreams.
Yes.
So having the TV on is probably not a good idea.
No,
either.
it's not. No. I encourage complete silence if you can. However, there are some people that silence, that's an issue for them. And so they may need to have something in the background to help them sleep. And so in that instance, we would encourage like white noise, so like a sound machine that is playing, or maybe some meditative music that will help you fall asleep. Something that is not too compounding that it's going to affect your ability to sleep, but it helps you get into that relaxed state.
That's really good stuff. And if you can't, after practicing all of the things that were suggested here, I think it's heavily suggested that you seek out help from your primary care physician.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I struggle with sleep. It's a big issue for me. And oftentimes I'll just go to sleep and wake up and don't even realize that I'm operating on 3-4 hours of sleep because it's so routine. And I do it, and I think that I do it well.
Okay.
But over a period of time, just like anything, it starts to beat you up.
Yes, absolutely. And I would say to you, I would suggest that you take some time to kind of scan and assess, like, during the weeks, or, take a look at a couple weeks at a time, and how are you functioning through the day and through the week? While you are getting like 4 to 5 hours of sleep, but do you feel like you're at your best optimal self, while you're at work? Are you able to fully concentrate and have like really great conversations? And which some people are, but when you start to notice that maybe like the slightest thing is starting to irritate you, or there's some signs of some anxiety with things that you didn't have before, sometimes it could be related back to your sleep and not getting the full amount that your body really needs.
That's key. And I said that on purpose because anxiety is the new, I'll say, girl in town, because, everyone has issues with anxiety. But if you dial it back, not self-diagnose, but you can add to your value by doing
Yes.
things, I feel, that will kind of help you. And taking a mental note of how you sleep is
Absolutely.
probably one of the biggest and best things that you would do
Yes.
first, because I can be short. It's like that Snickers commercial. You remember the Snickers commercial where like somebody is hangry?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the same thing,
Yes,
right? So just
absolutely.
anything agitates you, it's like, do you need a nap?
Right. Well, and that's why they say it, because, with having a nap, it gives your body the time to kind of like recalibrate and, get back to your best self. And so once you wake up and you're refreshed and relaxed, you are operating a little differently than what you would have prior to that nap.
Speaking about naps, in your knowledge, I know it's not what you specialize in, but in your experience, you feel like taking naps is something that
Yeah, so naps can be encouraged, but I'm going to say, within reason. If a person is finding themselves taking frequent naps throughout the day or throughout the week, then that could, cause concern, because then that could also be a sign of sleep deprivation, because you're not getting full sleep when you're supposed to, and so you're making up for sleep by taking, these smaller naps over periods of time. So if a person does have to take a nap or they feel they need to, I would say nothing more than 30 minutes at a time. But when you're doing it like daily, that may be something that you want to, continuously pay attention to and look at your sleep routine and try and make some changes.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go down a lane that you tell me I need to switch lanes or not, but oftentimes I notice people that suffer from depression like to sleep a lot. So not asking people to self-diagnose, but when do you feel like it's imperative that someone step back and say, am I feeling okay? I've slept all day just about, When do you feel like...
So I think when your activities of a daily living are starting to be impacted. So if a person's typical norm is not to sleep, I don't want to say sleep consistently, but if they are not a person that is very active and mobile, that might be okay for them. But a person that's mobile, they tend to do a lot of things, and now they started to regress and they're sleeping more. That would be a time where a person should check in with them to say, hey, like, are things okay? How are things going? What do you need support with? Or being able to point out, I noticed like you're sleeping more, or you're not doing some of the things that you used to do. Those could be early signs of depression.
Okay, that's serious. It really is serious, because it's kind of two-edged, because now we're in daylight savings time.
Yes.
So our mind, because the days are shorter, it forces us, our body, to kind of say, oh, let's kind of power down a bit. And then it's easy to get that confused sometimes with, oh, it's just 5 o'clock. So
yes, absolutely.
Wow. So I think this conversation is enlightening, not just for me, but for our audience, because we always go. We just get up and go all the time, and we never stop to think. It's just like, I got to do this. I got to do this, and I got to do that. But where is sleep in that? So I wouldn't say, oh, everybody must go to bed at 8 o'clock every night, but you should find.
Yeah, you should, have a routine and try to stick to it, even on the weekends.
Even on the weekends?
Yes, even on the weekends, because your brain doesn't know it's a weekend, right? So, keeping up with a consistent routine is very key. So, like, if you are able to go to sleep, let's say 9, 10 o'clock at night, daily, do that on the weekends as well.
Well, that's kind of fair, because in my older age, by 10 o'clock, I'm just like, oh, I'm ready to go to bed anyway. But I want to pedal back. You said about drinking.
Okay.
So sometimes people will take a glass of wine or whatever to wind down.
Yes.
not that it's a bad thing, but it makes me sleepy anyway. But just because it makes me sleepy, it doesn't mean that I'm getting quality sleep.
Absolutely. So alcohol is it's like a depressant where, you know, it puts us in a relaxed state, but it's a temporary relaxed state. And so most times people who are consuming, let's say, significant quantities of alcohol prior to sleep, you find that they are waking up to go to the restroom, or, you know, their brain is, you know, still, it's still working in the background because of the substance that is, you know, going through their body. So therefore, it's not the best thing to do constantly over time to get good quality sleep.
Okay, so I guess I gotta cut my wine drinking off
Yes,
at
you
6
did.
p.m.
Yes.
Get off of work and go straight to the wine bottle. No, just joking. You gotta laugh.
Yes.
So that's big medicine also. And I'm sure you tell your clients all the time to laugh and not to take yourself so seriously.
Absolutely.
And we're not
also
perfect.
Also know that, you know, you're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. And while I, you know, kind of harp on having a routine, the reality is that many of us is not going to be able to stick to a routine of going to bed every night at 10 p.m. But trying to get to some type of consistency there is what's key.
Awesome. How could people find you on your socials?
Okay. So my social handle is Time to Reflect, and that is TYME, the number 2, and then the word reflect. And that is on all social media handles, actually. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We don't have a TikTok.
Doesn't seem like we're going to have it either because it's going away soon.
Oh, well, yeah, that too. So you can find me there on socials. My website is reflections with an S, LLC.org. So www.reflectionsllc.org. Anything else?
Well, if someone was interested in calling to make an appointment, could they do that on your website?
Yes.
Or is there a phone number?
Yes. So on my website, there is a contact page where you can submit an inquiry. But my telephone number is 410-849-9485. And I can be reached via email at info@reflectionswithanSllc.org.
That's awesome. So can you leave us with a thought? Because we are hard on ourselves. We really are hard on ourselves. And it's, for some of us, our upbringing. Some of us, it's society and trying to keep up with what that social network is, media, or the people that you have surrounding you. So we're hard on ourselves.
Absolutely.
How would you recommend your patient to kind of fall back and just live and honor your time, honor your moment?
So I tell my clients all the time that life is ongoing. It is a journey. And, where you are today is likely not where you're going to be, 5 years from now. And if you are, it still gives you the opportunity to do differently, to do more. So just keep at it. And I always use the acronym FAIL, first attempt at learning, or first attempt in learning, which is to support us with, if we make mistakes, just, get back on the paddle and keep trying.
I like that. FAIL.
Yes.
First attempt in learning.
Yes.
That's really good.
Thank
That's really good. I'm going to steal it.
Okay. Go right ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here at Hidden Parts, the podcast. Again, I'm your host, Sean Monet. Subscribe to the channel, please. Like what you hear. Share what you hear. But most importantly, come back. Until next time. Get some sleep.